I would thought I'd share my personal experience of that first few weeks.
Go for it. First few weeks at university and how it kind of
Yeah,
was.
first few weeks of university, because my experience wasn't the best, and I feel like it might resonate with some other people who maybe went through that similar experience. But I mean,
Yeah.
I'm gonna take it from the opportunity of hindsight and give some
Yeah,
context.
I'm interested to hear this now. All in Liam's first few weeks at university at York. Let's
yeah,
go.
it's this could have been like 2 weeks of vlog content.
Hey, literally.
But no, so like the first day, like obviously moving in is a very surreal experience. Like I genuinely felt like I was in a film, because you build it up. Like, so when you get your results at A level, you sort of build it up in your head for like a month and a half, and you're counting down that day when you move in, and it's like when it came, it was just like so intense. You are sort of swept into that experience of, right, here's your key, here's your room, this is your flatmates. You've been speaking them obviously on Snapchat and stuff in the group chats leading up to it, but it's not really the same as like being thrust together with a group that you've never really met for a week. And yeah, so I was very nervous about getting started, but obviously really excited as well, because this is where I wanted to be. Like, I was there to have fun and really see what I could make of it. But it was just very nerve-wracking, and I remember specifically that first day, I got there really early, because obviously you want to move in, and I just completely lost my appetite for lunch as well. Like, I couldn't eat because I was just so nervous. And sometimes that happens with me, and it does flare up a bit later in this story. But my sticks were really great, like overall. A bit, like lads, sort of thing.
And a stick,
like,
for reference, is somebody who, let's say, when you go to university, they're in the year above you, they stayed in a similar like college to you or the same college, and they kind of guide you around university for them first few 2 weeks or whatever, and kind of show you the ropes, show you how to get to town, etc., etc.
Yeah, they're very useful. Some do it better than others, I think we can agree. So one of the hardest parts, one of the things that I absolutely hated about Freshers Week, was waking up every morning feeling anxious, because I was so out of my comfort zone. Like, I fully, encourage people to get out of their comfort zone and to try new things. But starting university was the most intense thing I think I've ever done in my life. And it was awful for 2 weeks. I think every morning I'd just wake up feeling anxious, and it was not pleasant. And it made me think recently, when I was writing this podcast and things we could talk about, that it is incredibly easy at university to get lost in the system, in a sense. Like, I personally didn't. Like, it wasn't debilitating. But there was a few people that I knew that sort of isolated themselves in their rooms, and maybe only came out to have like lunch or breakfast or whatever. And it seems like a place where you can get lost quite easily, and I think that has come out, in terrible situations that have happened in universities across the country. But yeah, it can feel like it's an isolating situation, and there are obviously lots of ways to help with that, which I'm going to cover at the end of the story. So it's not all doom and gloom. But there are definitely lots of things that you can do to help. But yeah, that was definitely the hardest part, was the anxiety.
Yeah, and I think it's quite easy as well, like you say, to build up a kind of cycle of anxiety where, let's say you don't make any friends on the first night, then you then go to breakfast. Oh, I don't know anyone. I'm just going to get a takeaway breakfast, go back to my room, eat it there. Then the next night comes. Oh, you don't know anyone, and everyone's in the kitchen having a good time, but I don't know them yet because I didn't meet them last night. I'll just go back to my room tonight. And then you kind of do this cycle where you don't really meet anyone. And essentially, you end up in a situation where you wake up, you're alone, you go get breakfast, get a takeaway, you're alone. And listen, it's a very rare situation, but you can see how some people do fall into that trap, and how some people really do kind of develop that not so nicer experience. So yeah, I can see how that. I don't know anyone personally that's happened to personally, but I've heard of like stories like it.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned there like the hardest part as well that went along with that. I mean, there's only so many things that can go wrong, I suppose, but the hardest part as well that went along with that was the eating. Like, I didn't think it was such a big issue, but when I came to university, I discovered that I found it very difficult to keep food down, if you know what I mean, because the anxiety was making it so that it was challenging to not be nervous going to these, like, because you had the college meals and things, sitting in a public space eating. It was very difficult.
So you're saying like you would just feel like the nerves, and your food wouldn't settle, and then you didn't want to eat in let's say the dining hall in case you were in case you were sick, type of thing, or
it wasn't. It wasn't. It's exactly that. It was a case of not wanting to. Not wanting people to see that was going on as well, because obviously I was very concerned that I wanted to make friends, and in my mind it was like, if people see that, you know, they might be like, oh no, I don't really want to speak to him, or I don't really want to know him.
Well,
it was a difficult situation.
Yeah, like I understand what you're saying, because I'm not on the socially. I wouldn't get, like, let's say my food wouldn't settle due to social circumstances. But if I'm having an argument with someone, or let's say I'm in sort of conflict, or before a sports event, if I have to eat food, I know, like, straight away, there's no way that's going to settle my stomach. So I'd literally just avoid eating. Yeah. And it's like, I guess that same sort of thing where if for you, for example, where with the socially kind of just feeling like your stomach's not having the food, then it's a hard kind of thing to deal with, especially when, I don't know, everybody goes to food at the same time and you need food.
Yeah, it's challenging, but obviously it's not a big issue that affects me now, because I've obviously, through the last 2 years of uni, I managed to figure out ways of, in my opinion, that work for me to help deal with it. I feel like I'm on top of it more than I ever have been. And I'm excited to share some of those things. And I mean, some of them are things that you would, of course, just go, oh, yeah, that's obvious. But some of them, you know, aren't as obvious, and I think have really, really helped me personally. And I think it's healthy to recognize that it wasn't perhaps the healthiest way to start uni, combining those, like, challenging situations of, like, eating and keeping healthy, with the drinking culture, and, you know, losing sleep, and you know, you end up getting into a cycle that's not healthy, and I think it's important to, you know, realize that and think about ways of helping yourself. But of course, Freshers Week at the end of the day is there to have a good time, and I did enjoy it in a sense. I did enjoy it. Would I want to go back and repeat it? No. But I did enjoy it.
Like, touching on Freshers Week, like you say, like, I feel like the problem really with it all kind of stems from the background of people. So let's say for me, you know, my group, my school were like, everyone was on drinking from quite early. I went on a lads holiday, which is basically 7 days of Freshers Week, but a bit more intense. And then
I did the exact same.
Yeah, you know, the same. And obviously I changed sixth form. So I kind of went to university Freshers Week feeling like, oh, I'm Billy, like, big boy here, going to love it. You know, I know how to meet people from sixth form. I know how to drink, have a good time. And then you'd have my flatmates, let's say some of them similar level, some of them not at all, haven't really been out of their secondary school bubble. They don't do sport. They don't kind of meet people that way, or they don't drink. And it's such a difference between personalities and difference between what they've done in the past that can really make Freshers Week kind of, like, for some people not good. And I think that's part of the issue surrounding it. I don't know how you solve it, but I feel like, yeah, that's where it kind of